Welcome to another video. Okay, here we are. White's turn to move. Notice that this black knight right here is unprotected. Okay. Also notice that this white queen is aiming right in that direction, and the only thing in the way is this knight. So a good move for white would be for the knight to capture that pawn, and then even if the knight gets recaptured, white can take that other knight, and what you've just done is you've gotten a pawn. Each team has lost a knight, but white has gained a pawn. Okay. Black comes down and grabs that pawn. What's a good move for white right here? Notice that black is now threatening to take that rook with the bishop. And even though you could recapture, it's not a fair trade for white because the rook is worth more than the bishop. What's a good move for white here? Queen right there. And while yes, the bishop can take the rook, look at this. White is threatening checkmate on the next move. So if black doesn't see it, could be trouble. And if black does see it, let's see what black should do in this scenario. The best move for black is for the queen to go right there. And then this queen can take the bishop. Of course, this queen can take the pawn. But white has gained a bishop for a pawn. But white did not make that move. At that point, white moved the rook over, which was not the best move. The best move was, like I said earlier, for the queen to go here. And after white moved the rook, black came down with the pawn. White took, bishop took, and then white went there, threatening checkmate. And what did black do? Black took the knight. Black was so focused on what they were doing, they didn't see this. Boom. Checkmate. Another example, white to move. What did white do? White came down. I don't know what white was thinking there, but there was a much better move. There was a much better move, and what was it? Right here. Checkmate. The king can't go anywhere. This rook guards all of these squares. Nothing can capture the queen. The king can't go anywhere. Checkmate. Later on in the same game, black came down and grabs that pawn. White got nervous and took the bishop. And then black put the king in check. At this point, black has a queen and a knight, and white has a queen and two knights. But black's putting the king in check. Was there a better move if white wasn't so quick to recapture that bishop? Do you see a better move for white? Oh yes. Check with the knight. And when the king moves, boom, get the queen. Wow. That would have been sweet. All right, next example. Black's turn to move. Black pushes the pawn, tries to get something going. What does white do? White brings the queen here. Now, what would be a good move for black right here? Bring the queen up. Now, notice what's happening. Queen is threatening checkmate here and taking that rook there. What is the best move for white? Let's look and see. Best move for white in this scenario. Best move for white is here. And then look, well, the computer's saying go here. But black could capture. Okay, now we're going to go back. Let's say that black does not capture that rook. And let's say black did this. Take that pawn. What should white do? White should go here. Black should say check. It's a double check. King goes here. Queen goes here. King goes here. Rook goes here. Rook takes queen. Rook takes queen. Pawn takes rook. Wow, look at that. That's pretty awesome. It's really fun to just play out what the computer would do. Let's go to the next example. White to move. What's a good move for white here? Well, the computer says the rook should take that knight. And then it makes sense that black would recapture. But notice now the white queen can take that pawn, say check, king has to move, and the queen can scoop up that other pawn. So while yes, white used its rook to take the knight, white had to sacrifice the rook to get the knight, but then also got two pawns. Another example, it was black to move. Black pushes the pawn, and white takes the pawn. Now black was afraid to take that bishop because he was afraid of something like this. But if that happened, black would have a fine response, and that would be just to bring the rook back. And you see now, black has two rooks, and white only has one rook. Okay, next example. Black's turn to move, and black notices that white has the king and the queen on the same diagonal. And wouldn't it be nice to put the bishop right there? That would be nice, but you can't do it because the queen would just take it. Now white is threatening to come down and cause some trouble here, but black was so excited, black just pushed that pawn. White had its eye on that knight, so just got that knight. Then black puts the bishop on g5. White knows they're going to lose the queen, so they bring the pawn here. Now the best move for black at this point would be to take. But let's see what they did. Just move the queen out of the way because black was so excited that they achieved this bishop at this location that black wasn't thinking that taking the pawn with the rook was actually the better move. But then it was white's turn. What did white do? White just moves the bishop. Black takes the queen. Okay, next example. White noticed that this knight is aiming right at that black pawn, and that this queen is also aiming at that pawn, except this white pawn's in the way. So white was pretty fixated on trying to make that happen. But it was black's turn, and black decided to cause some mischief of his own, and white knew that if he captures with the rook, this knight can come down and say check. With then he thought, well, he could just put his knight here. So what happened? Now he knows this rook is also pinned by the queen. But he was so excited about this that he was willing to risk it. So he takes his knight. After the rook comes down and says check, the knight blocks. The rook can't take the knight unless he wants to be sacrificed. So whose turn is it now? Black moved the knight there. Now the best move for white, according to the computer, is to go here. But you see, then if the knight goes here, he's protecting this pawn, and it kind of ruins the plan that white had. So white played something called hope chess. That's where you make a move and you hope the opponent doesn't see it. Not the best way to play, but he pushes the pawn. Now black was thinking, you know, if he can get this rook down here, it's going to be bad news for white. So he takes the pawn with his rook, not seeing that the white queen comes down. Boom, checkmate. Well, thanks for watching. Have a good evening.